I know. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I can't say much more than that. But, well, I'm back. Hello. Intermittently at that. But for those who don't know, I feel I should explain myself a little bit. I left school recently. As I think most of you know, I graduated. I'm now a fully fledged adult and no longer coveted to high school. But after Celtic came to Australia, after I went to schoolies, I walked straight into a job, and that has pretty much taken up the majority of my time. I've been working upwards of 38 hours a week, and I work in hospitality, so that pretty much means that, at a club in hospitality, so I can pretty much be working for any hour of the day. I can be rostered at any hour, so with that, it really makes it hard to find time to do these videos and to cook them up and to edit them and to do all that, to write them and whatnot, the whole process that goes into the videos. But here I am now, because I've got time. And if I've got time, I might as well use it effectively, because I haven't got a shift today, so that's great. But yeah, I've got time, so I might as well make a video, because I feel bad for leaving you guys in the dark. And yeah, especially without explaining myself, so that is 100% my bad. So I'm truly sorry for doing that. But 3 days ago, we travelled to Ibrox, and it still feels like we won that match, despite drawing the match. And we're going to talk about that today, because I think there's a lot to break down from that match, and there's a lot to talk about, especially with other news that has come out since that match and over the last couple of days, and overnight as well. So yeah, let's talk about the match. Hopefully I remember how to do this. Now, I'm not going to go through the match because we've all everyone's watched it. Everyone knows how it went. But going through it, I experienced a tidal wave of emotions: happiness, anger, frustration, disappointment, hatred maybe, surprisement, elated, and contentment. Those are just some of the emotions that I felt, and it was pretty much in that order too. Because that game was a whirlwind roller coaster, and we all know how the game went. We all know, Fat Boy assisted our first goal. We all know that Rangers got back into the game in a matter of minutes after the stroke of half time. We all know how we were completely, utterly robbed of a penalty, corrupted of a penalty. And then how Michael Beale made the silly mistake of putting out a full defensive lineup in the closing stages, which ultimately cost his team all 3 points. Now, while that wee corner of Ibrox, the one that housed 800 Celtic fans, some of which were brutally hurt by fireworks, pyros and whatnot, it still was the best part of the night when that tiny little corner was set into raptures and started chanting, "We shall not be moved." Yet, 54,000 Rangers fans in attendance were completely silent. It was a great feeling, and while it wasn't a win in terms of 3 points, it was a win for Celtic in the grand scheme of things and in the title race, which is all that matters in these matches. It just takes away pretty much another opportunity for Rangers to guarantee themselves 3 points and guarantee Celtic get 0. And with only 2 league derbies left in the season, one at each venue, that was a golden opportunity squandered, especially considering they were 2-1 up with, 7 minutes to play. But we've got to remember, folks, while we are 9 points clear at the top of the table, in fact, we are only 3 points clear at the top of the table because we've only beaten Rangers once. Now, that is a bit of Michael Beale-ness for you all. So we can't be too complacent because, Rangers could win one match and it's back to even Steven, according to Michael Beale. So thanks, Michael Beale. You really, apart from making yourself look like an absolute idiot, you've made yourself look like an absolute moron and only probably fueled Ange's fire to win this league even more, again, for the second time in a row. So congratulations to yourself. And yeah, let's talk about the match, shall we? Because a lot happened in this match. There's a lot of matches that Celtic have where you think a lot happened, but nothing really happened. But this match, a lot happened. And it did, in fact, happen. And one thing needs to be addressed over everything. And it, of course, is the VAR decision that ruled Celtic out of a penalty. Now, I've seen a lot of cheat and beaten comments online on Facebook. People have to remember, while Beaton isn't the best referee of them all, people have to remember this decision wasn't his. You know, with VAR introduced, I'm pretty certain refs get told that if you're unsure, leave it because VAR will amend the decision. And who was in the VAR room, I ask? It was none other than Willie Collum, the man who always tries to make himself the centre of attention, William Collum. Now, he ultimately made the decision to wave away the penalty call. He made that decision up in that box to not even have Beaton get a second look at it. Despite Connor Goldson making his body bigger with his arms in an unnatural position, which constitutes a handball anywhere on the pitch, including the penalty box, except for the penalty boxes at Ibrox, that should have been that's a stonewall penalty. Now, Celtics have since scheduled a meeting with the SFA for a please explain on that decision and many others that have happened throughout VAR's introduction to the league. But it's not the fact that it was a decision given against Celtic. You know, we get a lot of decisions given against us. It is the fact that so many of these handball decisions have been given since VAR's introduction. You look at the Hearts game, you look at every other game. So Motherwell, I believe there was one in that as well. A lot of games, Aberdeen it might have been, you know, we even got a dodgy one against Livingston, I believe. If they're all given, why is this one not given? It is not the fact that it was given against Celtic, it's the fact that there is a complete lack of consistency shown in the decisions. You know, there was consistency. There was consistency in every single handball decision, because they're all dodgy, you know. The league clearly made it clear that if your arm was in an unnatural position, even if you weren't looking at the ball, even if you did not intend to touch the ball, even if you had no idea where the ball was going, it was going to be given a penalty. So why was this one not given? Because it completely and utterly resembles cheating. It is, while, you know, Rangers fans will always go like, oh, here goes the Celtic fans again, always going on their cheating and corruption claims. You can't say it isn't. It was absolutely a god-awful decision, and it makes you wonder, firstly, why is Beaton not taking a second look at it? How has Willie Collum, someone who has officiated all of these games already, he's made these penalty calls, he's been in the VAR box before, why has he decided not to do that then? You know, and while we have now finally stood up to the SFA and asked for a meeting, asked for them to explain their decisions, no one should get their hopes up. No one should get their hopes up at all, because nothing is going to happen from it. You know, they'll apologize, they'll say the referee made the wrong call, and that is that. Nothing will happen. The refs won't learn, and people will still put it down to teething problems because it's brand new. You shouldn't be so harsh on VAR. It was bad in almost every league when it first got introduced, but nothing compared to Scotland. In England, there were some dodgy decisions, but nothing compared to Scotland. You know, the World Cup was a perfect example of the use of VAR. It was absolutely, utterly perfect. In Scotland, it is utterly shambolic. But it's a never-ending cycle and a never-ending story. We'll get the dodgy decisions against us. And, well, we'll go to the SFA, but then it will just happen again and again and again. But I'm not waffling on about it anymore because it's just too bloody frustrating and it gets me riled up. But on to something else, and something that many have described as the passing of the torch from Josip Juranovic to Alistair Johnston. Thrown into the deep end on debut at Ibrox, he describes it on his Instagram as the baptism of fire. The baptism of fire. You know, it was incredible. You know, when the lineup came out, I fully expected to see Rio Atate at right back and Aaron Moy in the midfield, but we saw the new boy in the starting 11, and I was just as shocked as anyone else, and I was also intrigued to see how he would fare. And while he was on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, it was Greg Taylor, but only for a matter of minutes. After that, he was subbed off injured, and on came, surprisingly, Josip Juranovic ahead of Alexandro Bernabei. Yet, Juranovic undoubtedly was awful against Rangers. And I would argue he was 100% at fault for both of Rangers' goals, because they both started on the right-hand side. While Starfelt gave away the penalty, Sakala got away from Juranovic, who was lazy. While Ryan Kent scored on the left-hand flank, it started down the right-hand side where Juranovic failed to shut down Fashion Sakala. Fashion Sakala made Josip Juranovic look like a championship-level player, and not an English championship-level player, a Scottish championship-level player, you know? And one moment which defined Juranovic's lack of effort in that match and lack of passion was in the final 10 minutes or so. Rangers had a counter-attack from a corner. And do you know who's streaming down the right-hand flank? Not even his defensive side, Alistair Johnston. He turned into the flash. He tracked down Sakala from the other side of the pitch. It was a great display of passion from the young Canadian, but from Juranovic, it was really, really frustrating to see, because we know he has quality, but he just looked disinterested. You know, he looked like he was ready to leave the club. You know, now back to Johnston, because this part isn't to slate Josip Juranovic, no matter how much money that took off his price tag. I'd say roughly £5 million. I reckon he'll go for 15 million now, but still, this is to praise Alistair Johnston, because he was thrown into the deep end, as I've stated, but he performed and he took it on the chin, and he has really, really impressed a lot of Celtic fans, myself included. I think he is going to be a special player at right back. You know, he was rusty to start with. You know, he was a bit cautious going forward. I will admit that. He wanted to go backwards a lot more, just to hold possession, not to, you know, stuff up on his first appearance. But as he eased into the game, and as he eased into the occasion, he really came into his own. You know, I think a lot of his tackles that he attempted, a lot of the tackles that he successfully made, a lot of the passes, a lot of the runs he made were all with confidence. And if he builds his confidence, he will become a very cracking player. As for Juranovic, his time is up at Celtic, you know. That's fair enough. I'm not going to, Juranovic, like, that was just a god-shocking performance. And I hated it. I was absolutely furious with him in that match because of his lack of effort, you know. Because he almost cost us all 3 points. But it is what it is, you know. We've got Johnston in right now. And like I said, the passing of the torch. Johnston has that torch right now. And in our next game, it is this weekend. It is Saturday. It's against Kilmarnock. Do expect to see Johnston lining up at right back and probably Bernabei at left back, because I think Greg Taylor's going to be out for a bit of time. But that is all from me. So if you guys did enjoy the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I apologize. Hopefully these videos will become more frequent in the near future. Also, go follow the Instagram, bhoydownunder on Instagram. I'm active every day on that because I can't be active every day on here. But I will try to be. But until next time, hail, hail.